Do you like space? Do you like aliens? Do you like big guns? No, not that kind. That kind. Do you like shooting aliens with big guns in space? Well, then I have got the game for you. Space Hulk Deathwing Enhanced Edition is a first-person shooter from Stream On Studio and published by Focus Home Interactive, with the Enhanced Edition marking the game's arrival on PS4. Set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, you play as a librarian, a member of the elite Dark Angel Deathwing chapter of the Space Marines. And yes, you heard me right, you play as a librarian. But not as anyone you've ever seen before. If that was the case, your local library's late fees would be less of the £1.50 fine and a slap on the wrists, and more of the hot, righteous, fiery death. Anyway, the game takes a fairly standard FPS format. You and your squad of Space Marine Terminators battle your way through levels, killing hordes of enemies called Gene Stealers. As the librarian, you have psychic abilities that can be used to even the odds as you find yourself facing a greater and greater numbers of the Gene Stealer swarm.
Justice.
You can also open a side gate that will transport you and your squad back to the safety of the ship, where you can change your loadouts and grab a quick breather before returning to the battle. However, if you accidentally hit the touchpad to open a side gate, you cannot cancel it, and have to use it whether you need to or not. This is incredibly frustrating, as most FPSs use the touchpad as a map. Instead here it's used for a vital, irreversible and finite mechanic. So, that's swell. As you progress through the game, you unlock a large arsenal of ranged and melee weapons that you can swap in or out to help you bring the Space Marines' own particular brand of justice to their enemies. The artwork, character and weapons designs are brilliant. There's clearly been a lot of work put into faithfully recreating the look of the Space Marine miniatures of the original Warhammer 40,000 series. The story, however, falls short. It's clearly bursting with the rich lore of a beloved series and will probably offer a fair amount to hardcore Warhammer fans. But for me, it was rather dull, only really springing into life around the 5th chapter of 9, which is far too late to grab the player's attention. The gameplay is also a bit of a disappointment. You have infinite ammo, and with a near infinite supply of enemies that seem to spawn from anywhere and everywhere, you spend 90% of your time just holding down the trigger button, shooting the same enemies again and again and again. As you travel through the dimly lit industrial-style corridors, you are reminded of games like Doom or Alien Isolation. However, as I continued to play, I couldn't help but wish I was playing one of those games instead.
Flanks and rear zones have been secured. You are safe to proceed to the Caliban's will.
The gameplay loop itself becomes repetitive very quickly. You constantly find yourself having to hold a position, fighting waves of enemies whilst a program installs or downloads or a door is unlocked. You literally do this in almost every mission. There's also a hack feature that allows you to enable or disable or destroy a turret. However, enabling the turret doesn't seem to actually do anything. The turrets don't really shoot the enemies, they only really shoot you and your teammates, so really your only options are disable or destroy, which is pretty much do the same thing anyway. So I can't help but wonder, what is the point? Add to this the long load times, the frame drops and freezes, and it can be a frustrating experience. The special missions and multiplayer add a bit of longevity to a fairly short campaign, and the huge amounts of character and gear customisations available will give hardcore fans a lot to experiment with, but ultimately it feels a bit of a disappointment. In closing, Space Hulk Deathwing Enhanced Edition is a bit of a mixed bag. It's certainly not terrible, but it's not great either. Hardcore Warhammer fans might get a bit more out of it, but for me, given the rich source material, it could have been so much more.
The most feared killers in the galaxy. Without fear, without mercy, armored against any threat, equipped to hunt any prey, created for a single purpose: to serve the Emperor. For tomorrow, you die! Forget your past life. From this day on, you are a dark angel. Nothing else is of consequence.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe and make sure to catch up with the latest episode of the podcast from your usual podcast provider. For everything else Nearly Men, go to www.thenearlymen.com. Thanks folks, see you again.